Hi, my name is Liz Gaffney, and I'm a primary instructional coach for pre-K and 1 in New Britain. I'd like to introduce you to my partners as we work towards making New Britain developmentally appropriate. I have Michele Kushman, who's also primary instructional coach, E.A. Aschenbrenner, our consultant from EastCon, and Amy Anderson, our coordinator of curriculum pre-K through 5. So we're all going to share the wealth today. Before we get started, kind of like to get an idea of who's here in our audience today. So teachers, any teachers? Okay, school social workers, psychologists, administrators, and grade ranges. So are we all early childhood? So pre-K up to, what's your highest grade? 1, 2, 5? Okay, cool beans. All right, so we're going to start today with, I feel like I should be in the wedding singer right now. I don't do microphones well at all. Our mission in New Britain. Personally, I came on to the school district 3 years ago. And since I came on, we have a new change in leadership with Nancy Serra as our superintendent. And together we developed this mission statement that in partnership with family and community, the Consolidated School District of New Britain works to provide the best personalized and comprehensive whole child education so our students will be prepared for and positively contribute to a profoundly different future. For me, the key words up there is whole child. We are really looking to develop our children, heart and soul, top to bottom. And I think with our work in pre-K, K, and 1, we're starting that off in New Britain on a good foot. So we'd like to start today with a video that kind of will let you know where we stand in our hearts about young children and their learning.
Early educators are acutely aware of the changes we've seen in our classrooms. A lot of the market-based reforms, the high-stakes testing that we've seen across the country are really trickling down to early education. The people who see dollar signs when they think of education have set their sights on preschool, kindergarten, first and second grade. They're now completely susceptible to the same reforms that we've seen in the older grades. And a lack of play-based learning has been noted everywhere. It's across the country. This is a national issue, and our early education classrooms are really in crisis. Families, the public often don't know, and it's our job to really explain this with examples, to show them what's happening to their children in our classrooms, and to help give them a voice to advocate for what their children need and what we want to see in our classrooms. As these education reforms continue to take hold, we really can expect to see an increase in negative consequences for our children. Teachers will tell you that they see increased anxiety in their students, an increase in depression. And more we're being pushed to put younger and younger children on screens when so many of them really just need to be outside. We're not honoring where children are developmentally. We're not celebrating those successes. And we have children who are really afraid to take those risks, to try. And I really worry that we're creating a further inequity in which children are identified as having special needs or behavioral issues, because all children need to move and play and learn through exploration. The expertise of early educators has been completely disregarded, and we see this in standards that ignore decades of research about how children learn. Early education is being hijacked. We really need to support each other, to encourage each other to tell our stories, and to illustrate what's wrong with these policies, and we need to reclaim our voices as experts. For more information, visit deyproject.org.
So I believe in New Britain we are reclaiming our voices to promote children's education through appropriate developmental practices. And actually in our district we do it pre-K through 12. We've really made an initiative to make that a part of our mission. And today if you walk around we're also presenting at other aspects as we work to develop a social emotional curriculum for our district as well. So in our district currently we have a social emotional curriculum that's been develop pre-K through 12, and then in our classrooms, especially pre-K, K, and 1, we are looking at our teachers allowing our students the chance to learn through play-based learning. We are doing it because we have found, not only through research, but actually through our implementation, that our students who are able to play and learn are less anxious, more excited about learning, and our disruptive behaviors have declined because our kids are actively engaged in their learning. our classrooms are starting to be more reflective of what an early childhood classroom should be, with integrated learning, thematic learning, field trips again, where kids are going back out and learning about the real world and bringing it back into their classroom. And the difference for kids is that we actually see a love of learning that's developing, an excitement for learning. And in the next slides, we're going to share that with you, and also what's different for our teachers as they too are able to come back to that point of enjoying teaching, leaving the ideas of no child left behind, and embrace the profession that they have always loved and wanted to do correctly.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about cognitive rigor and Webb's depth of knowledge. Like we heard earlier, positive stress is what really helps our kids to succeed and to learn and to build their self-confidence and their social emotional skills. So one of the things that we've worked with our teachers on is having that cognitive rigor. And it took a little while, but it's not about making things harder for kids. It's about making it more complex, more opportunities for students to connect their learning and apply it. Sorry. That's okay, Vanna. So when we look at Webb's depth of knowledge, level 1 is simply recall and reproduction. That's the drill and kill that we were talking about earlier, that students are not actively engaged in. It's boring, it's repetitive, and I think we spend way too much time doing that with our students. Level 2, it does require them to use some of that knowledge, that recall and reproduction, and start to apply it. But where we're really working with our teachers is on increasing the strategic thinking and reasoning and extending their thinking. We want our students to deepen their understanding and start applying it more independently, cross-curricular. So one of the things that we're doing in New Britain to provide these opportunities for our students is we know that young children learn best through exploration and discovery, hands-on learning. So in our pre-K and kindergarten classrooms, we're doing purposeful play. The word purposeful is key here because it's intentionally planned for our students, aligned to standards, with goals in mind for social emotional development, social skills, oral language development. Students are engaging in purposeful play 5 times a week for 60 minutes. Our kindergarten schedules incorporate this, and we do encourage our teachers to realize that this is an academic time for our students. It's not just about a time to disconnect and relax, but it is academic. It's not a time for teachers to be on the computers, checking emails, stuffing folders. It's a time for our teachers to engage with students, build some of those relationships that are really important to those learning experiences in the classroom. Students engage in play planning where they are using their executive function skills of making a plan, carrying it out, and then reflecting on it. They participate in something called learning scenarios 3 times a year. My colleague Liz is going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. And our centers that we have going, also we encourage our teachers to provide prompts and provocations because some of our kids have not had a lot of these experiences and don't know how to always interact with materials. So by giving them a prompt of, today when you go to Play-Doh, we've been learning about animals and habitats. I want you to create a habitat for an animal or a certain animal like a turtle that would help the turtle survive. So giving them a specific purpose when they're going to their center that connects back to their learning and the standards they're working on really helps our students engage more appropriately. This year we had the opportunity to roll this into first grade in 3 of our elementary schools. In New Britain we have 10 elementary schools. 3 of them worked with us to pilot purposeful play in first grade. And as you can imagine, it looks a little different. Our students engage in purposeful play or Imagineering time 3 times a week for 45 minutes. Again, it involves play planning. Initially, at the beginning of the year, it really resembled what they were doing at the end of kindergarten. We wanted students to have some familiarity, come in with a low stress, less anxious opportunity with things that they already knew. So students were individually planning their play, reflecting on it, As the year progressed, we focused more on the collaboration and working with others. The social skills and the social curriculum is really important to us in New Britain, and really wanting to develop those collaboration and critical thinking skills with others. So as the year progressed, we moved more to inquiry-based centers with prompts and provocations where students were able to do some self-discovery and inquiry connected to the standards they were learning, primarily in social studies and science. That seemed to be the hook for students, giving them something that interests them of high interest level to engage in these opportunities. And then we're ending our year dabbling in a little bit of project-based learning and starting to work with students on developing their own questions and their own levels of inquiry. So a learning scenario starts with a big idea. In kindergarten, it looks more like students taking on roles and responsibilities. They're connected to standards and draw on what the children already know and questions that they have. They're tied to standards and curriculum. Liz, myself, and Amy worked to revise our kindergarten curriculum to integrate some of these skills and concepts, especially around the science and social studies piece. And again, focusing on building that social interaction and cooperative work.
So I get the fun part. I'm going to talk to you about our learning scenarios. So as Michele said, a learning scenario runs from like 6 to 8 weeks, and ideally it's based on your student's interest, because as we have said earlier, it's all about the engagement of our students to help with their behavior interest and keep them engaged. So you decide to do a scenario. For example, one of my favorite scenarios in our district is they do a car dealership. So they go and visit car dealerships and learn all about being a car mechanic, running a car wash. We take a trip to Papa's Dodge, and they get to see what the mechanics do. They watch the cars go through the car wash. They come back with all those ideas and implement them in their classroom. They change their classroom into that car dealership. So they might have the mechanic shop. As you saw before in that picture, there's a DMV. They learn about the process of getting your driver's license. We even have students giving the driver's test. They had police officers who would pull each other over if you were going too fast or didn't stop at a stop sign. The whole purpose was to start to get our students to develop about the idea of learning about different roles people play in the world and giving them the opportunity to engage in language development through those roles. They get to, one of their favorite parts is create props, things that you would need to be a car mechanic, things you would need to be a police officer. And we encourage our teachers not to purchase from Lakeshore, which is easy, but to allow our kids to make their own products, which will allow them to show their creativity. It asks them to work collaboratively. So we're working on all those skills that make learning fun. Finally, like one of our goal is to get every child involved in a learning scenario. And we've had success in that area in some of our schools where we would have 22 children all playing on the same topic at the same time in the classroom, which is not an easy feat. But that's the whole idea of the learning scenarios, to get everyone engaged and to allow them to be successful in something that's in school where some of them don't always feel that successful. One thing that Michelle's, one of her classrooms came up with is they put their play at the beginning of the day because they found if the kids came in and got to play, they were less stressed the rest of the day. Did I miss anything about learning scenarios? Oh, play planning, sorry. So we do play planning. As EA has showed you the Who Chooses First board, they choose where they want to go, they go back to their seats and they write a plan. Today I am going to be a mechanic. I want to service somebody's car. Or Mike has flat tire and I'm going to fix it. Then they go to that area and they play. And they hope to complete their play plan. If they don't, they go back and reflect on why it didn't happen. We encourage our teachers to have the students share at the end of their play. Were you able to do what you had planned? If you weren't, why not? How did it make you feel? Were you upset? Did you get frustrated? How did you deal with the frustration? So not only are we working on the academics, so to speak, but also working on the social emotional. one of our teachers actually does reflection as a gallery walk, where she has the students, there's a speaker in each area in first grade, and they share what the group did as a whole. And I think it's a really nice way for kids to practice speaking, their oral language, and also to share ideas amongst themselves and reflect. So you came to a PD on play, so you're going to get to play a little bit, if you don't mind. Do I have any smiles out there for play? We're going to allow you to make some props. We're going to pretend that we're doing a scenario in the hospital, and we're going to give you bags of different materials that you could find in your house. You look very nervous when I said those bags. It's nothing that scary, believe me. And we'd like you to work in groups to come up with some props that you can make that would be used in a hospital. While you're making those props, think about the science standards that you can hit, the math standards, the vocabulary that can be developed, the writing that can take place afterwards, after your kids create these prompts, or these props. So if you want to, we have 4 bags. If you can get into little groups and you can work together, and we'll take a couple of minutes, okay? We're going to go around, and if you would share what you created with us. And I heard a comment from over here that actually I thought was funny, because I believe this person is right. I think it was you who said, my students would have more ideas than I do. And why is that?
Because they overthink it. They have more of an open mind.
They have more of an open mind when we squash it out. Okay, so you guys want to share? Here, you can take the microphone, please, I don't want it.
So we made, we're in the ER, so we made one of those EKG machines. Yeah, but clear.
Always known as clear.
Clear. You rub it together. I don't think you need to do that anymore. And then we had some straws. We said that could be, if we connected a whole bunch, it would be like an IV.
All right, and here we have maternity, and I'm going to tell you a story. We did this a year ago. They had a baby being born. Yes. So remember that? Do you? Yes.
Oh, me? Okay,
Well,
all right. Well, we created one, like a little baby swing, or one of those things that keeps him from rolling over. And we have our baby. He's got some hair, so that's.
Looks like the mom.
Yeah.
And our favorite part of the hospital, the cafeteria.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, yeah, I need a little assistance here. All right, so this is our lunch tray with our healthy salad, water bottle, utensils. We have some money over here. I have the scanner to check you out when you're done. Yep, and then our menu for the lunch. That's it.
Thank you. And now we have our lab, or the blood work area. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Here we have our microscope for looking.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yes. There you go. We also had some vials of blood somewhere here. I think they fell on the floor. Yeah, there we go. Oh, specimen cup. There we go. And that's it.
Very cool. I know EAOE shares this story about I think she had a school do the hospital, maybe in Willimantic or up that way, and when the kids were using the word phlebotomist, it just, to hear little kids use those words, it's like awe-inspiring, because they're so proud of themselves, and you're so proud of them for using those words, and they think they're like, college students, like rock stars. And that's one of the things I forgot to mention in scenarios, is the background building, that we do have our teachers spend a lot of time reading stories. And I think sometimes when we say background knowledge, it's kind of a misnomer, because it's ongoing development of knowledge. It's not just one and done. We constantly revisit. And the wonderful thing about play is that kids start to ask questions that leads to more learning that they're interested in. And that actually, I think, is what's really the most exciting part of it all. So as you were playing, you could start to think about what math and English language arts standards you can hit, science, social studies, the executive functioning, the planning that's necessary, the idea that maybe you had an idea to make something and you thought the materials wouldn't work, or would work, but when they didn't, could you come up with something, a different idea? Could you change your thinking? And of course, the social skills. I love in first grade when they do the group play plans. It really helps all of our kids shine, because kids with different strengths find their areas and ask to do that part of their planning, and then they feel successful. Okay, so.
So as we focus in New Britain on those 21st century skills to develop our students, we're looking at collaboration, communication, critical thinking and problem solving, and creativity. And I'm hoping that you're starting to see how this is all integrated into our purposeful play. Some of the things that we're doing that our teachers are reporting as far as positives for play in their classrooms is that our students are able to collaborate with each other, share materials to complete a task as a team. So when we think back to our mission of wanting to have our students contribute positively to a profoundly different future and be college and career ready, this is our step to helping them get there starting very early. Students who wouldn't necessarily work together are getting together, communicating, having fun during Imagineering time. One of the things in New Britain is we have a lot of English language learners. And the oral language development that these students experience through the year has been one of our biggest and most positive impacts on our EL learners. Students have the opportunity to engage in meaningful conversations with each other, use level 2, level 3 vocabulary has increased. Students have the ability to problem solve has increased in their critical thinking skills. Being able to engage in some of the inquiry-based centers where they have a challenge. Students had to create a 3-dimensional shape using gummies and toothpicks. In the other picture, they had a space theme in first grade, so students were making rockets out of materials, and they started making individual rockets out of paper towel tubes, little soda bottles, and then decided that these rockets are too small and made one that was taller than me in the classroom. And teachers and students have more ownership and creativity in their work. We had our car wash at the car dealership. Some of the cars that were made with actual pictures of engines, putting them on the front so the mechanics can work on the engines. In this last picture, our first graders were learning about habitats. So in the block area, they were creating a savanna habitat, and they were trying to camouflage some of those savanna animals that they learned all about. One of the things that has also happened is the independence level of our students increasing. Students that would be afraid to ask for things in their classroom are now asking for materials to use independently, and that's one of the things that the teachers have provided as positive feedback for this as well. So the impact on relationships. We're going to show a video of one of our first grade teachers talking about how the relationships have improved between teachers and students, students and students, school and the community, and schools and family.
We first started doing Imagineering at the end of the day, but found that students were having a hard time coming in from recess and self-regulating to have a productive Imagineering time. Now we do it first thing in the morning, and it's made a huge difference, especially in their ability to collaborate and work together to problem solve. First thing in the morning, they were more engaged and were able to carry those communications, collaboration, and problem solving throughout their day. Students who wouldn't work together are now getting together, communicating, and having fun time during Imagineering time. Onlookers wouldn't recognize the range of learners we have in our classrooms during this time at all, because all students are experiencing success. It's also a time where as teachers we are able to have authentic and meaningful exchanges with our students. This helps us build that important relationship with students so that they are comfortable being risk takers in their learning.
So one of the things I just want to touch on quickly, and I know Liz alluded to it earlier too, is that change from that teachers saw in their students when they changed play from the end of their day, when the students were coming in very dysregulated, to the beginning of the day, and the impact it has. They saw the stress and the anxiety decrease in their students, opening them up for learning the rest of the day. And that's really key for our kids, is getting them into school in a situation where they're not feeling stressed and anxious, instead of putting something, like reading or math skills that they might not be as well versed in, and feeling that anxiety right away of something I'm coming into that I'm not good at. All of our kids are successful at this time because it is so differentiated and kids can work at their own levels.
So the next impact we're going to talk about is that on the teacher. And this is probably one of my favorite parts of our presentation, because we all know that who's in front of that classroom or at the back of the classroom is what matters for our students. The instructional strategies that teacher decides to utilize impacts our student achievement and impacts their social emotional learning. So we have found that our teachers are so happy to be able to be given back the opportunity to play with their students, and given back the opportunity to be creative and to be excited about their teaching and instruction again. Personally, I was a classroom teacher when I found this, and I was kind of coming to the end of my rope. I didn't want to have to teach a 4-year-old another letter sound or drill it with them. And so I found play, or play found me. And it kind of excited me again about being a teacher again. So this is Kirsty, one of our first grade teachers, sharing how it's impacted her.
Imagineering time is a vehicle that gives you permission to be who you want to be as a teacher. It is a platform to say we are going to create opportunities for students to learn through play. It gives you an open space to work in, instead of just saying we have to do the science now or we have to do social studies now. This time allows more opportunities to integrate and plan across the curriculum. It also provided us with the opportunity for more collaborative planning, where we were better able to share ideas and plan experiences for students together. We found it much easier to integrate real-world experiences and 21st century skills for all our students, while providing more cognitively rigorous tasks.
By the way, so we were watching these videos after they were done, and we've decided, Michele and I, that we are going to do a newscaster scenario next, so we can all get used to reading teleprompters, okay? But these are their own words. We're just, they're helping us out. Oh, what's my next one? Oh, sorry. Our next video is about what's different for our children. And I think you can tell by the pictures alone what's different for our children. They're excited, they're learning, they're engaged. This is another one of our teachers sharing how she sees the difference for her students.
Imagineering developmental play has Imagineering developmental play has been a positive experience for all my students in different ways. I have seen behavior problems decrease during the day during this time because students are engaged and excited about learning. I found that students were better able to learn because of the integration of curriculum. For instance, we would be reading a story in reading groups about space, and they were able to apply their learning during imaginary time creating rockets or lunar rovers. It has really helped students to build on and extend their knowledge as well as their oral skills and vocabulary. It has provided opportunities for all my students to find success. Students who may struggle in reading really shine when they get to apply their learning through this hand-on approach, and it keeps them engaged. Students are taking more responsibility for their own learning and are much more reflective as things do not always work the first time around. They really persevere during this time and have increased their independent questioning skills as well.
So next year is we are going to roll out Imagineering time to all of our first grades. So 10 schools are going to be doing it. It's very exciting. And we have started our PD. We have found that teachers learn best in May, not August, the day before school starts. So we started with an introductory. We had PD all year long, half days for our first grade teachers. And then we have started with full days in May so that they can really get a grasp on what they will be asked to do coming in September. And we had our first PD on May 8th, and one of our teachers left and experimented and sent us this email. So here we go. She was talking about trying some of the stuff she had learned in her class. She said, "So I don't have many materials yet. I just grabbed what I had and let them run with it. I could not," uppercase letters, "believe what I saw. I had these toy flippy frogs that I figured they would just play with. They started taking out rulers and measuring how far the frogs could flip, even making predictions of how many inches each frog would go. But wait, it gets better. Then they began making the ruler into a ramp to see if they could catapult the frogs further with a type of ramp at certain angles. The station next to them, that was just playing with blocks, making a long train, decided to join forces with the kids at the Frog Center. It became like an actual science and math experiment in my room. They took all the cubes and created various structures to see which were better suited to their frogs' races through trial and error. I couldn't believe that they came up with all of these ideas by themselves. Furthermore, they worked together in a way that I can't describe. Just goosebumps. Here it is, the 160th day of school, and I'm seeing these minds light up in a way I hadn't before." And she goes on to say about the creations they made. She sent us some pictures, and she said, "The pure jubilation that happened in my room today, the teamwork, the ideas flowing, was just amazing. And the kids who normally were withdrawn or struggled in the academic setting were the heroes. It was an amazing day." So this gave, and it still gives me goosebumps. Michele and I were working to prepare for these presentations, and it came across our email, and we sent it to EA, and we made her cry. So we know it's a victory. But the impact on kids is absolutely amazing. And take it from someone who was Head Start, New Haven, doing this program, the change. I had no behavior issues at this time of the day. The language development. And just the cooperation was absolutely amazing. Stop working.
So some of the questions that we're left asking now is, are students more actively engaged in learning since the implementation of play? I would say absolutely. There's really no question in my mind. What's different for children over time, academic and behaviorally? As EA had talked about earlier, we don't always see the fruits of our labors right away. You know, these children are going to look very different, I feel, entering the upper grades in middle school with more executive function skills than they have right now. And we're also looking at, are we impacting those executive function skills, and which ways are we going to be able to assess them in New Britain? And how are teachers purposely planning for increasing their rigor? So this is our focus moving forward, as well as some of the next steps that we have. We're going to continue building these executive function skills and play-based learning in all of our first grades next year, increasing the cognitive rigor during our play-based learning time in our pre-Ks, Ks, and 1, providing teachers with training on provocations and inquiry tasks that are connected to the CCT and the NGSS standards. Focus on intense professional learning for all of our teachers, K to 12, in a collaborative atmosphere, including administrators and instructional coaches, and monitoring our progress of our students. One of the pieces of data that we were looking at is we've just started utilizing the best screener with our students to measure those risk assessments, and looking at how are kids coming in at the beginning of the school year, where are they going when they're leaving us. Benchmarks using play plans in kindergarten for our students to look at their growth and executive function. And then performance tasks in grade 1 that are tied to these inquiry-based learning and project-based experiences.
Also in our community providers in New Britain have just decided, our preschool providers have decided to implement executive function and play in their buildings as well. So everything is kind of coming together in a wonderful continuum. let's focus on creating engaging, fun, developmentally appropriate learning experiences for all, acknowledging the importance of embedding enriching language and numeracy experiences within these environments. And we feel that we are reaching that goal in what we're doing each and every day in New Britain. So, any questions? Oh, yay. We'll just pass it to Mike.
I think this is great. I'm probably one of the oldest people here from the kill and drill from the beginning and living with a teacher. We were killed and drilled at home too. But my question is, I think this is fabulous. And my children kind of experience some of this in their school system. But with all this, this knowledge that these children are coming from another perspective, what are some of the impacts, say, on the second or third grade when you need to learn your times table? If you don't know your times table, it's kind of hard to live in everyday life. Sentence structure, noun, verb, predicate. Does this help when it has to come to those definitely formalized learnings? Do you have any?
Well, this kind of it is formal learning in a way because we're working on literacy skills.
I'm sorry, and are they graded though?
So we do play plans every day, and teachers keep them. And so we're talking primary grades. So they keep them, and we have a rubric that we grade them on, and we use it as a data point right now. When a child does a play plan, teachers are working with the kids. So they're interacting with them. So you're working on sentence structure. You're working on probably a phonics skill if you want to. There are other elements of our program that we didn't share, such as message of the day, which is, remember our old message of the day, today is Monday, we have gym. So we've replaced it with something that's a little bit more engaging, that allows our kids to be more engaged and interactive with the writing. And at that point, too, teachers are utilizing that time with literacy skills. So throughout all of our strategies, there's literacy, numeracy being incorporated. And I do believe, actually, the kids are more open to learning those traditional skills that you're talking about because they're engaged and they're learning them through a much more exciting manner.
I was just wondering if you found that you had to do any direct social skill instruction during these well, I know, it seems like an obvious, but this is just so wonderful to see, and I think part of what holds a lot of school systems back is you always hear there's not enough time in the day, right? But I do agree we need to make time. However, I think a lot of it depends on the fear of what happens if they have conflict and you having to constantly, step in with this student, step in with that student, and teachers are so afraid to kind of set back and let them solve their own problems. Has that been an issue as you implemented this program, like teaching them to work together? I work with everywhere from kindergarten to 5th grade, and we have middle schoolers who cannot work in a group. It's all what they want to do and not anyone else's plan, the group plan versus my plan. So
it is. It's a process. I believe we do a lot of modeling. That's where our social emotional learning curriculum comes in that we've established. We've every grade level is also, with our SEL program, has gotten books to use and lessons to use, which when you see a problem occurring, you can go and pull that and utilize it in your classroom. But yeah, it is a lot of modeling because they need to learn those interactions. And I think the cool thing about roles too is it's your opportunity to teach kids how to interact because they can become somebody else.